All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Uncharted Podcast Network right here on YouTube. It's time to turn it on. It's time to strap in. It's time to go Uncharted because the countdown is over, and every episode of the Uncharted Podcast Network is the main event. As always, first off, down in the corner, probably this one. Nah, this is probably this one. I don't know. We're winging it. We're working on the fly here. The socials will all be there. Facebook, X. I almost said Twitter after X, but Facebook, X, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, all the good ones. Go like, follow, share, subscribe to all of them for more awesome Uncharted Podcast Network content. What's the name of the channel? It's the Uncharted Podcast Network. It's good for you to remember. It's good for me to remember. And let's get into it. Already posted is WrestleMania Night 1 review. And today we're going to run through, probably hopefully within the next half hour, we're going to run through the Night 2 of WrestleMania as well as the Raw After WrestleMania. I cheated and used my phone this time. How dare I? How dare I? For some reason I'm in sports here. All right, here we go. Let's talk real quick about Night 2 of WrestleMania. Night 2 of WrestleMania was leaps and bounds better than Night 1 of WrestleMania. Night 1 of WrestleMania had less than 90 clocked minutes of wrestling at WrestleMania. It was a 4-hour event that was dominated by ads over and over again for the General, for WWE games, for Street Fighter, for Mortal Kombat. It was dominated by ads far more than it was dominated by the entertainers that were on the screen and specifically there to entertain you, right? They didn't care about that. They cared about the bottom line. Thank you, TKO, for sucking it. All right. Now then, back to what I was talking about. Night 2 kicks off with Oba Femi versus the Beast Brock Lesnar. Now, I ran my stopwatch specifically for this match. Literally ran a stopwatch on my phone. Let's see. Oh, it didn't keep it. All right, that's okay. That's all right. 4 minutes and 30 seconds was the answer. 4 minutes and 30 seconds worth of Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar, ending in a fall from grace delivered by the ruler to the Beast, and Oba Femi wins that match. The match went exactly how I thought it would go. Oba winning is a great thing. It pushes him forward. He defeats a absolute hellacious contender. It makes him legit. It makes him a threat for either world title. I know he's kind of zoned in on Roman Reigns' world heavyweight title, but it just makes him a threat to either of those titles kind of regardless, right? Not that anybody would have ever thought that Oba wasn't a threat. Like, that's not the case at all. Oba's a threat. Oba's a threat to society. He is a giant. He's a massive, massive man. And he's going to deliver a lot of great stuff for WWE here in the near future. But he beats Brock Lesnar. And then we get the surprise of Brock Lesnar taking off the boots, taking off the gloves, leaving him in the ring, essentially marking his retirement. Me personally, not a Brock guy. I'm not sad about it. And really, you can highlight all of the nefarious things that he's been rumored to be involved in as, one of my primary reasons. But outside of that, I also was just never a Brock guy. I was never a Beast guy. I didn't really like him in UFC. I'm not a huge UFC guy. Was just never really a Brock Lesnar guy. So it's not the saddest thing for me that Brock Lesnar retires. And honestly, I feel like it's really legit. And I feel like it's really legit because Brock got emotional. Paul got emotional. He's had a hell of a career, that's for sure. I'm not going to be sad and miss him, but I'm sure that there's a massive chunk of the fan base that regardless of what Brock did outside of the ring in any capacity, they will be sad that he's gone. But this skyrockets Oba Femi into the main event picture. And that is an absolute fact at this point. Penta retains the Intercontinental title in an amazing ladder match. That ladder match was a ton of fun to watch. I wish it hadn't have been on the ESPN coverage because maybe then they could have gotten a little more violent, a little more bloody. But altogether, a great match. And honestly, there came a point in the match where I didn't really care who won. Like, it was just really fun to watch. Javon Evans, dude's a stud. Dude's absolutely crazy. Rey Mysterio, that guy drinks from the fountain of youth every time he steps into a pay-per-view match. Penta's an animal. That dude's an absolute freak, and he did a great job. And his entrance, killer with the Aztec mask, super cool. Dig it. Uh, Altogether, this is a great match, right? Like, Ray Phoenix kills it as well. Rusev had a good showing, and Rusev has been underutilized since he came back to WWE. And you have some weird spots, right? But you also have some great spots. Rey Mysterio, going over and doing the plancha through the ladder. I mean, Rusev's head is perfectly placed in the ladder. It doesn't hurt him. Is a great spot. The Mexican Destroyer to JD McDonough from Penta, amazing, absolutely perfect spot. His head was perfectly placed. It was just such a good flow, and it was an absolutely great looking move. The only move I really have any complaints about is the cutter coming off from Javon Evans from the top rope to get Rusev. Rusev had no business jumping off the ladder to fall into the cutter, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense if you're looking at it as an intellectual storyteller. He is this close to the ladder to getting the belt, right? Why am I jumping off in order to get this giant cutter? Like, I'm not about it. That's just ridiculous. I don't agree with that. And I think it would have been way funnier if we had a Samoa Joe moment where Rusev just watches Javon fall and like shrugs and just grabs the title. I don't think that Rusev should have won, but I think that was the perfect setup for that. But all in all, an absolutely stellar match. Trick Williams versus Sami Zayn for the United States Championship. Match was good. Lil Yachty is entertaining. Trick deserved the win. The crowd was very much so behind him. The entrance, I felt he ran long enough on the entrance that the crowd got really tired of chanting "Whoop that Trick." But altogether, an absolutely good showing. And Sami Zayn needs to be a heel. Like, at this point, Sami needs to go full heel. He was great as a heel when he was doing the weird knockoff Castro routine. Like, I think that'll be great. And to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if he's part of Bloodline 3.0 here in a minute. That wouldn't shock me at all. But Sami needs a change of scenery here for sure. And I look forward to seeing what they do with him. But it's the Trick Williams era for the United States Championship. But I think he's going to hold that belt for a long time. I think they're going to let that man ride. And to be honest, as long as he defends the title, I'm going to be interested in seeing it. It can't be like Julia, where you have the women's United States title for 200 days. You've defended the title one time, and you're not on TV very frequently. That's boring. That's not fun to watch. I want to see Trick throw down. I want to see Trick versus Carmelo Hayes as soon as possible so we can kind of iron out why Carmelo should have been at WrestleMania to begin with. Dominic Mysterio, or as some would call him, the greatest lucha of all time. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. My brother and my nephew really like to drill into my head that Dominic Mysterio is the greatest lucha of all time. And let me tell you, the greatest lucha of all time ran straight into the Demon Finn Balor at WrestleMania and got absolutely routed. He had very minimal offense, and Finn looked peak. Shaved it back down. He's looking like 2018 Finn all over again, and he was in peak form. I look forward. I'm a huge Finn Balor guy. I love Finn Balor, and I look forward to seeing what Finn brings to the table going forward. I think it'll be great. I think Finn needs to find himself in a title picture here real soon. And somebody like Cody, like CM Punk, who's a realistic opponent for him to beat, those matches will feel really good. If you put him against Roman, which they've already done, the Demon versus the Tribal Chief, you know that Roman will squash him and just move on. I don't want to see that. I want to see Finn in the title picture, and I want to see him go against somebody he could realistically beat in a real situation. Finn Balor, stellar. Dominic Mysterio, boo. Boo, Dominic Mysterio. The worst lucha of all time, as Liv Morgan would say. On to Rhea Ripley, Jade Cargill. I had very little expectations for this match. Jade Cargill can't wrestle. If you think she can, you just don't pay attention. That's my opinion on that. Jade struggles all the time. She misses spots all the time. She botches, which is a word that I like. I don't really love botches. I feel like botches in a live performance aren't really, like, that's not the correct word for it. But she misses a lot of routine stuff. The great news in this match is she didn't have to pretend to be a wrestler. And she shouldn't ever pretend to be a wrestler. She's powerful. She's giant. She's muscular. Let her just ragdoll people around. You could literally have a championship run as this unstoppable force. You don't need to be good at the ins and outs and the drop downs and all this stuff. Just let her dominate matches. Let her be a dominant force. Rhea Ripley carries a lot of matches. I don't necessarily feel like she did in this one. I think that this match went fairly well and better than I expected in terms of how Jade would do. Rhea Ripley winning the world title, that's just a business call. That's a good call. Rhea sells merch. Rhea gets butts in seats. Rhea makes the 18 to 35-year-old demographic lose its absolute cool, and that's of both genders. She's such a good pony to hitch your wagon to in this type of situation. She's always going to bring in the revenue. She's always going to bring in the eyes to the product, and she can throw down in the ring. So I don't see why that would have been a bad decision. I think it was a good call. And Rhea Ripley winning. Now I'm just curious as to what is this weird tag team triple situation for Jade Cargill looks like going forward? What do they do? Is she still in the title picture? What do they do going forward with Jade? I am interested. I'm not going to hunt for it though. She just hasn't entertained me enough. She's awesome. She's pretty. She's muscular. Her in-ring stuff still needs a ton of work, and they should definitely... She needed an NXT run. That's a fact. She needed to go down to NXT and just get reps in a real in-ring competition. Tony Khan did her no favors, and those have carried over leaps and bounds. So, good match, though, altogether. I don't have a lot of complaints about that match. Then, the moment of the night. Danhausen and the mini Danhausens going at the Miz during the John Cena segment. Danhausen is a treasure. I'm not going to even highlight all of the pieces of what happened in the Danhausen segment, because if you didn't see it, you should just YouTube it. You should go find it. It is absolutely hilarious. Danhausen is a 10 out of 10 comedian. I absolutely love watching him on TV. He needs to be on TV more. They need to stop plugging him in on Raw during commercial breaks. Nobody cares. We want to see him. We want to see him live on TV. He's more entertaining than 80% of the show. It's disappointing when you think about a wrestling show and the only thing, half of us give a crap about is Danhausen. But I love that Danhausen. And if you don't love Danhausen, then you are cursed. That's a fact. Danhausen's amazing. Go check out that segment if you didn't already. I haven't been rating all these matches. Danhausen segment is a 100 out of 10. It is diabolically good. Go check it out. On to the main event. Roman Reigns, CM Punk. Crowd pretty split. The Tribal Chief trying to get back into the world title. And CM Punk looking to retain, coming through his very first solo main event at WrestleMania. And surprise, surprise, the Tribal Chief picks up the win. And he starts his reign of dominance all over again, quoting that he'll have the summer of Roman Reigns. He'll be around for the entire summer. I'll believe that when I see it. That's a fact. But to be completely honest, that match was really good. It was a great back and forth match. Both guys had some periods of dominance. CM Punk definitely had the underdog thing at the end where you were like, can he do it? Can he get back into this thing? And then he couldn't do it. Roman Reigns picking up the big win and capping off WrestleMania as once again the heavyweight champion. It wasn't this is his first time as the world heavyweight champion, but once again a world champion, and once again the true head of the table. Lots of people are going to question whether or not he's going to be there all the time, whether he's going to be a part-time champion, but I tell you right now, there are plenty of part-time champions already, okay? Again, Julia has held the belt for over 200 days as the United States champion. She never defends it. She's rarely there. Boring. Boo. If Roman Reigns shows up and he has a really, really good summer and a good program, I predict that he makes it with the championship to SummerSlam, and SummerSlam Night 2, he is going to lose that title to the ruler, Obafemi. I will guarantee it. And then good luck finding anybody who can realistically beat the ruler in any situation. I just can't fathom with the roster they currently have who that guy is who's going to beat Obafemi. If you can think of somebody who can beat Obafemi for the World Heavyweight title post SummerSlam, drop it in the comments. I want to know who you think will beat Obafemi if Obafemi becomes the world champion before the end of the summer. Now, let's real quick talk about the Raw after WrestleMania. It's the biggest Raw of the year, by far. People can say whatever they want. They can be like, oh, no, it's the January 1st edition or whatever. No, it's the Raw after WrestleMania. The one with the most surprises, the call-ups, the comebacks, the big moments, and the big spots. Everybody looks forward to the Raw after WrestleMania every year, and this year sucked. So bad. Raw has been so bad, man. So bad. 4 matches in 3 hours. 4 matches. 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. 2.5. Normally in Mountain Time, it's like 6 to 8:30. 4 matches. 1,000,000 commercials for all the same crap. Every single time. Not even good backstage segments. Less and less Danhausen every week because they're plugging him into the commercial breaks so he can sell merch. We want to see him on TV. I digress. Let's talk about what was happening. Obafemi kicked off Monday Night Raw, and he came to the ring, and all he said was, the ruler has arrived. And then he left. And to be honest, love it. That was great. He didn't need to say more. That's perfect. Good job. Now I can't wait to see what they do with him next. They better not fumble. That's the biggest thing about that. Rhea and Io versus the Kabuki Warriors. Obviously, we continue to set up the eventual turn of Asuka on Kairi. It's coming. It's going to take forever, apparently, but it's coming. Rhea and Io picking up the win, and it's fine. Again, predictable. And all that kind of encapsulates that Rhea Ripley is headed to SmackDown so that she can be, the women's champion on SmackDown, while Liv Morgan will hold the women's world championship on Raw. Altogether, it was a fine match, but I'm not going to throw confetti at it. We've seen it a bunch of times, right? This website gave that match a B+. Good job, Bleacher Report. CM Punk, he has a segment where he thanks a bunch of people and talks about all the people he's lost and his, losing his dog and having this big WrestleMania moment and losing the belt to Roman and that he's still the best in the world. It all gets interrupted by Cody. And for me, there was a thought process that Cody might be coming to the ring to surrender the title due to injury because he is absolutely beat to shreds following his WrestleMania match and give that belt to CM Punk. It did not happen. But CM Punk did obviously throw his name in the hat as a contender for Cody Rhodes' title. And Cody Rhodes just told him to pick the place and to pick the time. That will happen, I think, in the near future. Cody needs to recover first. Cody looks ridiculous right now. He got his butt whooped night 1 and lots of injuries. I think he needs to clean up before we get any more Cody Rhodes in the near future. But Cody, he wrestled with the torn pec. It is less likely for him to sit down on the couch than it is for Santa Claus to be real. Spoiler alert. Just kidding. You can believe Santa. I don't care. Outside of that, right? Let's go to... Oh, they have notable observations. Let's talk about them. Javon Evans told Penta backstage that he's coming for the IC title. That gets interrupted by the call-up of Ethan Page. And they ended up having a match. It was a great match. Ethan Page looks great. I don't really have any good... I don't know a ton about Ethan Page, and I don't watch a ton of NXT. But the match was great, and Javon looks stellar. He's going to be great going forward. And, this gets all blown up when Rusev comes out of nowhere to try to take out Javon Evans. That young OG beats him up a little bit, right? But the all-ego Ethan Page comes in to set up Rusev to continue to absolutely squash Javon Evans and Penta, who made the run-in to try to get the save. Lots of accolades, lots of weird stuff, but altogether it was fine. Bleacher Report gives it a B. I think it was more like a C, but I'm not that upset by that, right? Liv Morgan comes out to celebrate her World Heavyweight Championship win at WrestleMania, and that gets interrupted by the call-up of Sol Ruca. They had a non-title match. It was a good match. I think it's crazy that Sol hits the Soul Snatcher, and what happens coming off of that is that Liv just rolls the entire length of the ring to get out. Shouldn't that finishing move, which puts you on your head, That should end the match. It should knock you out. No, apparently not. She just rolls right on out of the ring. Sol Ruca should have won that match. I understand why Liv Morgan wins that match. It sets up for Sol Ruca to fight tonight on, or it would be yesterday. I'm recording this on a Tuesday. It's going up on Wednesday, so those results are already going to be in. But Zarya obviously intrudes on this match and takes a beating to Sol Ruca, and then Sol Ruca loses on an oblivion to Liv Morgan. Sorry, I have to do this real quick. Let's get that camera to refocus on my face. Lots of, like all the wrestlers who were of any importance post WrestleMania were all sitting in the crowd. So Paige, the Bella Twins, Trick Williams, all just like hanging out in the crowd with all the rappers and all the celebrities. There's a segment with the Vision where they kind of highlight all the rivals that they're currently dealing with. Paul has a very good speech about Brock coming off of WrestleMania. Logan Paul gets booed out of the building every time he talks. Braun Breaker returns to Monday Night Raw and rejoins the Vision, which was my question coming out of WrestleMania, right? Is Braun Breaker still a member of the Vision, or is he in this for himself? That team is kind of aligning behind Braun Breaker now, and we'll see how they go forward. But then that was followed by the return of the Street Profits. Seth Rollins obviously involved in this. Seth comes out first. Breaker gets kind of the upper hand following a weird back chair shot, which caused Braun to bleed. They start to take it to Seth Rollins, and the Street Profits return to bail out Seth Rollins. It is an anticlimactic return, and essentially the only one of the night. Excuse me. I don't like that. I think that it is weird, but you be the decider on that one. Bleacher Report gave it a C+. Sure. Then we cap off. There were multiple vignettes throughout the night of Finn Balor talking about how his next, Dominic was just the first pillar in the Judgment Day who had to fall, and it would be followed by his former friend JD McDonough, somebody who he taught for 20 years on how to wrestle. He's trained him, and he needs to get redemption for JD siding with Dominic over Finn Balor. JD cuts a segment as well that says that he had to make that choice and that he wanted to stand on his own and he didn't have to have Finn's back any longer. And that caps off with the main event of the evening: Finn Balor versus JD McDonough. Finn Balor picking up the win, looking like peak Finn Balor. Right at the end, Dominic does a run-in and still gets bested by Finn Balor because he's not the greatest lucha of all time. He's not the greatest lucha of all time, I swear to God. Okay. Finn Balor defeats JD McDonough and defeats a bad run-in by Dominic Mysterio. And then to cap the night, of course, we get a talking segment, and it is Roman Reigns arriving, going to the ring, bringing along with him Jimmy and Jay, the Usos, where he tells them that he doesn't want them to serve him, but he wants them to be alongside him because he misses the glory days of the Bloodline, to which they all throw those ones up in the sky just in time for Jacob Fatu to come out. Is he going to align with the Bloodline? Is he against the Bloodline? He chooses to go against the Bloodline, and he wants a world title match against Roman Reigns in the near future, most likely a Backlash from the sounds of it. And Roman says he'll give him a week to think about it because the burden of carrying that title is a lot. But is it as much as the burden of, if Jacob loses, him having to acknowledge his tribal chief? That could be a good program, but I don't think Jacob is ready for the world title picture yet. And I definitely don't see where they would go after putting the belt onto Jacob Fatu. Whereas obviously Roman Reigns is a star maker. He's one of the biggest names in the company, and anytime somebody's against him, it's a big deal. So that's how that show ends. Altogether, if I had to letter grade the Raw after WrestleMania, it gets a C. It was fine. Raw and WrestleMania and SmackDown and all these things just continue to get kiboshed and beat up by senselessly large amounts of ads. Sorry, the camera has a mind of its own. Senselessly large amounts of ads, too much talking, and way too little fighting. It's a wrestling show. I want to see 5+ matches in a night. You have 2.5 hours to do it. The backstage segments aren't as meaningful as they were in the mid 2000s. Wrestling, like the WWE product, is stale and it's dull, and it needs to be improved, especially going forward. This, in my opinion, was one of the hardest WrestleManias to watch, mostly because night 1 was a train wreck, night 2 salvaged a lot, but had both nights just been incredible, had the women's matches all been more than 9 minutes long and they get a fair shot on the big stage again. The 2 longest matches of the nights were both the World Championship matches, which is fine. They're the main events. But everything else shouldn't be back to the early 2000s when it was like 5-minute matches. That's boring. That's not fun. It doesn't do anything for the story or anything for anybody going forward. So I disagree with it. I don't like it, but we'll see how it goes going forward. All right, guys. That was my recap of WrestleMania Night 2 and the Raw After WrestleMania. As always, the socials, I keep doing that, are going to be right over here. Please like, follow, share, and subscribe to all of those. Please subscribe to this channel, the Uncharted Podcast Network, where every episode is the main event of the evening. I'm happy that I'm here. I'm happy that you guys are here. This has been really good and really fun again so far. I hope that you guys like the video. I hope that you guys comment on the video. I'm really looking forward to some opinions coming out of what you guys thought of WrestleMania 42 as a whole and the Raw After WrestleMania as a whole. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.